Okay, let's pray. God in heaven, would you please minister to all the people in this course? I pray for the other people that they'll get here. I don't know why this course is so poorly attended. And I pray that you'll minister to people today. And I ask God that you would achieve your goal for what you want to have happen today in this class. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. I did not figure out what your final exam is going to be. I didn't think about it that way. I mean, I thought, oh, I need to do that, but I didn't actually think about it enough to figure it out. So like I said, I do not have assignments for my other 3 classes because it's Eid break for them. And so that means I have time to do just exclusively for you all for my 2 Bible classes. And I don't goof off. All I do all day long is eat, take naps, and do FC college work. That's all I do all day long. After I have my prayer time is done in the morning, from then until 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, all I'm doing is FC college work. So, because these so much work, oh my gosh. But it's great, I like it, I enjoy it. It's great, but there you go. All right, so I think I should be able to get it. And I'll tell you what, maybe by the grace of God, either on Wednesday or Friday, I will give you a very explicit, clear, easy to understand of what you have to do for the final exam, by the grace of God.
Sir, is there a probability to that we will have essays again for final?
You can guarantee you're going to have essays for the final. Guarantee it. There ain't no question about that. Yeah. I will also have some work to do with poetry, though. I'll also do that as well. And those will be MCQs. Yeah. So, and it'll be a lot of them. I'm assuming I'll take all the poetry we've looked at in this course so far, and I'll probably just make those all into MCQs and ask questions about them and stuff. But it won't be anything nasty, I promise. I won't be nothing tricky. Okay, and if it is tricky, we'll just remove that one. All right. Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
can you do a video in which you can explain again about doublets and triplets and all, and what does it means when it means to add something and the contrast वगैरह? Like, can you explain it again? Because I wasn't there in the class, and I don't know if I'll be able to understand if I watch the whole class again.
Okay. There's a PowerPoint. There's a PowerPoint on it. It's a real PowerPoint, and I explained it there. Okay, so I'll look at that PowerPoint and make sure that it's clear enough. I can do that. That's easy to do. Yeah, it's really easy to do that. Let me put that on my to-do list. Let me find my to-do list. To do.
Thank you, sir.
Tasks. Make sure that what this course is 281. Make sure poetry, doublets, triplets. Understand. Okay, I'll do that. Sounds good. All right, let's get to work. Oh, hello, Abraham. You've changed names. You're a multi-changing person, multitasking. All right. So let's go up to something strange today. All right. There's nothing great about this. This isn't even a Christian website. It's a really weird website, but it has a really, and so I'm not telling you to go to this website, but it has a really good subject index for the Proverbs. So what I'm doing today is you're going to choose some subjects. I'm going to find the subjects here, and then we're going to look at Proverbs, and we're going to do the poetry thing with them. And it's good translation. It's doing English translation, so it's a good translation. And we're going to talk about a lot about the Proverbs. I forgot, though, I have a PowerPoint first. So I need to switch over to the PowerPoint. Give me a sec. I need to switch to this. Just one slide. All right. Let's see if this will work. Okay, so I'm just going to remind you about this, and then I'm going to talk about it today. Okay. Why should a young man not listen to his friends? The book of Proverbs says, because he'll end up in trouble. Such are the paths of all who make profit dishonestly. It takes the lives of those who receive it. So Proverbs gives a practical reason, because you'll end up badly. The Torah says that it's morally wrong. You must not harbor hatred against your brother. Rebuke your neighbor directly, you will not incur guilt because of him. The Torah is worried that you're going to be sinning. That's what the Torah is worried about. Proverbs worries about sin too, I guess, but Proverbs usually gives the practical danger. The practical danger is if you listen to bad people, you'll end up badly. The Torah says, if you do bad things, you're sinning against God. And so the Torah is worried about a different issue. Prophets, they're worried about God's judgment. Listen to this, leaders of the house of Jacob, you rulers of the house of Israel, who abhor justice and pervert everything that is right. Therefore, on account of you, Zion will be plowed, and being plowed means it's going to be judged. So the Torah is worried because it's morally wrong. The prophets worry because God's going to judge Israel. And the New Testament worries because living in peace is what it means to be a believer. If possible, on your part, live at peace with everyone. So let me see, I want to make sure you understand this. I have a contrast. The Proverbs gives the practical outcome of listening to bad people. The Torah says it's sin. The prophets say God will judge, and the New Testament says that's not what it means to be a believer. So you've got different ways of dealing with the same problem. But the Proverbs way isn't about morality. It isn't about God's judgment. Usually it can be, but usually not. And it's not about, well, we wouldn't do that because we belong to Jesus. The Proverbs is, here is the practical outcome if you listen to ungodly people. So just so that you can keep this in your mind, the Proverbs have a different approach. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. If you haven't seen that lecture, you need to watch the lecture from Friday. It's super important to understand the Proverbs. And I'm definitely guaranteed you're going to have to answer a question based upon what we talked about on Friday. We do have a PowerPoint for that. So, but I just want you to see what we've got here, okay? When you look at the Proverbs, take the same action and see how the Proverbs say, well, this practically is what's going to happen to you. The Torah says, oh, that's sin. Prophets say, God's going to judge. New Testament says, that's not what it means to be a believer. Living in peace means you would never do that. So you have four different kinds of answers to the same situation. And the Proverbs answer is almost always practical. Okay, does that make sense? Questions about what we have here on the board? Yes, Isaac.
Sir, I am confused about the New Testament, and Proverbs. Like in Proverbs, he's saying that we should not listen to our ungodly friends, but in New Testament, as live as accordance with everyone, if possible. So, sir, if we live with accordance with the ungodly people, we will eventually listen to them. So
No,
that will make us.
No, that's not what it's saying. If you look at that chapter doesn't say that at all. It's a good question. Let's look at the chapter. You'll see right away that the chapter says something quite different from that. Okay. And of course, in the New Testament, you're going to always read it in context. You always have to do that. Romans. According to the grace given to, no, I don't want to do that. Okay. Love must be without hypocrisy. Detest evil, cling to what is good. Show family affection to one another with brotherly love. Outdo one another in showing honor. Do not lack diligence. Be fervent in spirit. Serve the Lord. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in affliction. Be persistent in prayer. Share with the saints in their needs. Pursue hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Be in agreement with one another. Do not be proud. Instead, associate with the humble. Do not be wise in your own estimation. Do not repay evil for evil. Try to do what is honorable in everyone's eyes. If possible, on your part, live at peace with everyone. So when you look at the whole chapter, you realize that you have to read the whole chapter. And he says at the beginning of this discussion, love must be without hypocrisy. Detest evil. Cling to what is good. So the thing about be at peace with all men is in the context of detest evil, hate evil. Okay, so once you see that, you realize he's not saying that. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Good question. Anything else? Let's go back to, okay, so now what we're going to do is, I don't know if this is a crazy idea or not, but we're doing it, so there you go. I want you to give me a subject, any subject you think of that you would be interested to see what the Proverbs say about it, and let's see if we can find. And I'm just cheating by using this particular website. Give me a subject, any subject.
Relationship.
Oh my gosh, they don't have it? They don't have it. So it'd be, how about friendships? Is it that like a friendship question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's see if they have that. We got friendship. The one who associates with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. All right, now, poetry. They don't show us lines here, but you can see the lines. It's a doublet. The one who associates with the wise grows wise. Contrast, opposite, but a companion of fools suffers harm. So what he does here is this is a doublet, and the first line is making a statement, and then the second line is giving us the opposite statement. This is good advice. The one who associates with the wise grows wise. That's generally true. It's not always true. But probabilities say that if you associate with wise people, you'll grow wiser. Probabilities say that if you have fools for friends, probably you're going to suffer harm. It's pretty good. The one who forgives an offense seeks love, but whoever repeats a matter separates close friends. Now, here again is a contrast. First line, the one who forgives an offense seeks love. Opposite, but whoever repeats a matter separates close friends. And I think there's an implication here. I think it's implying that when you repeat a matter, you're doing it because you don't forgive the person who had offended you. So that's really good advice. Super, super good advice. Now, what would Jesus say? Well, he would say this. This is not just practical, it's also true life. But I think Jesus would probably go a step further and to say, the person who does not forgive, God will not forgive him. Right? I think that's what Jesus would say. He did say that. So Jesus would give a different kind of answer, but he would agree with this. This is true. Generally speaking, as a principle of life, the person who repeats a matter separates close friends. That is so true in life. That is so true in life. So a person who has friends may be harmed by them, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. I like this one. So in this one, this is a person who has friends may be harmed by them, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. This is adding information. Actually, it's a contrast. I'm sorry, it's contrast. The contrast, you can be harmed by people, but you can also be greatly blessed by friends. And so there's a contrast there. In the book of Proverbs, I've never counted, but probably of this section of Proverbs, which is a big long section, starting in chapter 10 and going all the way to verse 27, 28. In this section, there are a lot of contrasts. Don't set foot too frequently in your neighbor's house, lest he become weary of you and hate you. Now, this is not a contrast. This is adding information. Don't set foot too frequently in your neighbor's house, lest he become weary of you and hate you. Okay? So let's go on to another subject. Give me another subject.
Divorce.
Abraham, the father of nations. Did you give the first one, friendship? Okay, so you have to
Yes, sir.
wait. Okay, Isaac, go ahead.
Success.
Let's do success. Yeah, this is definitely a big topic in Proverbs. For the waywardness of the simpletons will kill them. The careless eves of ease. I'm gonna skip this one. I'm gonna go down to starting in chapter 10, because the first 9 chapters kind of all are subject together. So I'm going to start in chapter 10. The blessing from the Lord makes a person rich, and he adds no sorrow to it. That's interesting. Not always true. Not really true in the New Testament, I would say. Remember, Proverbs is about probabilities. I would say that in Jesus, the blessing from the Lord is blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the pure in heart. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness. Blessed are those who mourn. I don't think that Jesus would ever say this verse in the New Testament. Does anybody want to ask any questions about my statement there, or you want to just move on? Oh, here's a good one. There is one who pretends to be rich, yet has nothing. Another pretends to be poor, yet possesses great wealth. There are lots of people who pretend to be rich and aren't really rich. I don't know about in Pakistan, but in America, lots of people who pretend to be rich and aren't really rich. So this is just not advice. This is a statement about life. There are a lot of proverbs like this. Remember, Solomon is the guy that wrote a lot of these, and a lot of his observations are not what you should do, but the way life is. And they're very profound. A servant who acts wisely will rule over an heir who behaves shamefully and will share the inheritance along with the relatives. Not always. Sometimes, yes. Probably, I can't say. If an heir means the son who should receive the inheritance, if he behaves really shamefully, yeah, that's probably true, isn't it? A servant who acts wisely will rule over an heir who behaves shamefully and will share the inheritance along with the relatives. That's generally probably true if he behaves shamefully enough. All right, first line is the statement. Second line adds to it. We'll share the inheritance along with the relatives. Extra information.
Sir, are the words here like and, but, connecting, like the words give us a idea that this line will be adding or this line will be contradicting?
No, often it'll say and it's really a contradiction. In the Proverbs, often. So that would be nice. It would be really nice, but no. This doesn't work that way. Okay, so give me another subject. There's a lot in Proverbs about success, but the stuff in Proverbs about success, yeah, I mean, it's really that success happens through not associating with fools, through dealing with wisdom. Um, Success happens in doing things that are righteous. So most of the things about success in Proverbs are the kind of person you are, I would say. Give me another subject.
Sir, judgment from God.
Say it again.
Judgment from God.
Judgment. Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Ha! All a person's ways seem right in his own opinion, but the Lord evaluates the motives. I'm going to stop there. All a person's ways seem right in his own opinions, but the Lord evaluates the motives. That is an awesome verse. That is so profound. So here we go. We deceive ourselves. We think we're right. We think we're our way is right. But God looks at our heart and he knows what's really going on. And then one of my very favorite passages, commit your works to the Lord, your plans will be established. The Lord works everything for its own ends, even the wicked for the day of disaster. The dice are thrown into the lap, but their every decision is from the Lord. That's an interesting statement. I don't know. There's a lot there. The eye that hears and the eye, or the the ear that hears and the eye that sees, the Lord has made them both. Anyone wants to comment on any of these? Here's an interesting. Yes, go ahead.
Many of these verses, like just the one we read first, that God establishes the plans, gives us a impact that God is in control, even in Proverbs.
Yes, you're right. It's here in a lot of these proverbs here. That's just a comment. You're not asking a question, right? It's a
Just
good
a comment.
It's a very good comment. Yeah. It's all through here. The dice are thrown into the lap, but their every decision is from the Lord. King sitting on the throne. No, that's not it. The ears that hears, I already said that one. The steps of a person are ordained by the Lord, so how can anyone understand his own way? There's a lot there. Very interesting. Martina, do you have a subject you're interested in?
Temptation. You have it right. Yes.
I'm start here. The mouth of a fool is his ruin, and his lips are a snare for his life. That's interesting. It uses the word snare. A snare is a trap that you set to catch something. Like my son-in-law set up a snare to catch a pig last month. He caught a pig, a wild pig that was out in the where he lives, running through the fields. So he set a snare, and the pig set the snare, and he got caught. So that one kind of temptation comes from your lips. Your whole life can fall into sin through what you say, is what this is saying. The mouth of a fool is in his ruin. His lips are a snare for his life. What he says can be a temptation that catches him in what he does. It is a snare for a person to rashly cry holy, and only afterwards to consider what he has vowed. This is talking about making vows. And there's a whole big section about making vows in the book of Ecclesiastes, which is very profound. So when it says snare, that's a temptation. It's a temptation for a person to say, I'm going to do this for the Lord, and then only afterwards to consider what he has promised. Thorns and snares are the path of the perverse, but the one who guards himself keeps far from them. Or the temptation, do not make friends with an angry person. Do not associate with a wrathful person, lest you learn his ways and entangle yourself in a snare. What is going on? All these people keep on contacting me. So, not super helpful as far as temptation. They're helpful. To be honest, if you want to learn how to deal with temptation, you got to go to the New Testament. You really do. Just have to go to the New Testament. Question, Martina?
Actually, can you explain the verse that says, "Do not make friends with the angry person"? Like, can you explain the verse? I know it's not, like, as you said, it's not helpful for temptation, these verses, but still, can you explain this one?
Yeah, so he gives the explanation. This is a triplet, notice. Do not make friends with an angry person. Do not associate with a wrathful person. That part of the triplet is repeating, notice. Make friends with an angry person is the same thing as associating with a wrathful person. It's the same thing, okay? But then the third part of the triplet, lest you learn his ways and entangle yourself in a snare, that's adding to it, which is pretty obvious, isn't it? You can see that it's adding to it. But the first two lines of the triplet are a doublet that are repeating, but the third line is adding to it. So here, the issue is the third. By the way, knowing that poetry often does this, where it adds, okay? First of all, knowing that poetry repeats, so this repeats, or I should say this repeats this. Therefore, I don't try to find extra meaning in the second line, but in the third line, I say, this is adding to it. What is it adding? That you will learn the ways of an angry person, and by learning your ways of the angry person, you will get caught in temptation. Because when you see the word snare, that's a temptation. That's what that is. You get caught, you'll tag yourself because you hang around an angry person enough and you're friends with this angry person, you start falling into temptation of being angry yourself. You find yourself judging other people. You find yourself looking down on people. You find yourself being selfish, because angry people are pretty much usually selfish people. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, Martina.
It's all right, sir. Can we go to see jealousy? Do we have enough references for jealousy?
Yeah, I'm sure it has jealousy. How could it not? Okay, we talked about this one. Oh, well, or maybe not. Do not let your heart envy sinners, but rather be zealous in fearing the Lord all the time. For surely there is a future, and your hope will not be cut off. Do not let your heart envy sinners, but rather be zealous in fearing the Lord all the time. So the contrast, this is a triplet. No, this is a doublet. This is a doublet. Do not let your heart envy sinners. Contrast, but rather be zealous. So you have the first statement, and the contrast to it, the opposite is rather be zealous in fearing the Lord all the time. So that's the first answer, that the healing for being envious, for being jealous, is to fear God. Not super helpless, not super helpful. Do not envy evil people. Do not desire to be with them, for their hearts contemplate violence, and their lips speak harm. Not really super helpful, but don't envy evil people. We do. We really do envy evil people. We don't envy the evil they do, we just envy the money that they have. I think lots of people do. I think lots of us, I know I do. Good grief. I think, why does that guy have all of that money and he's such a bad person? You know, what is that all about? I'm not doing very well with you guys today. Just keep asking, give me some more subjects. Abraham, it's time for you.
So jealousy, no, sorry, siblings, brother and sister.
I bet it won't have the word siblings. No.
Working hard, like that type of thing.
You would think it would
Work
have.
Spirits. Spirits.
No, it won't have spirits. I don't think that's anywhere there. I don't think that's anywhere in Proverbs. No.
So here it is: spirit heart, spirit alcoholic.
Yeah, that's talking about guard your heart with all diligence, for from it are the sources of life. Do not let your heart turn aside her ways. Do not wander in her pathways. It's not talking about spirits. It's talking about the heart. Yeah, so I knew the Proverbs weren't going to talk about spirits. A person's spirit sustains him through sickness, but who can bear a crushed spirit? You could use the word heart, it would mean exactly the same thing. A person's heart sustains him through sickness, but who can bear a crushed heart? It's the same thing. So when it says spirit there, it just means heart. All the way through. And usually they do have the word heart.
Sir, can we do adultery?
No, that's a sin. We can't do it.
No, like here. We can we
Oh,
see
I'm
adultery?
so confused. I was so confused.
That was a good one.
That's the best I can do. Yeah, that's an interesting subject. If you want to read about adultery in the Proverbs, the whole, look, all of chapter 5 is about adultery. The whole chapter is about adultery. For the lips of the adulterous woman drip honey, and her seductive words are smoother than olive oil, but in the end, she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Remember I told you that the Proverbs talks about the practical result of things? In the end, she's as bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave. Lest she should make a level path leading to life, her paths are unstable, but she does not know it. So now, children, listen to me. Do not turn aside from the words I speak. Keep yourself far from her, being the adulterous woman. And do not go near the door of her house, lest you give your vigor to others and your years to a cruel person, lest strangers devour your strength and your labor benefit another man's house. At the end of your life, you will groan when your flesh, your body are wasted away, and you will say, how I hated discipline. My heart spurned reproof, for I did not obey my teachers. I did not heed my instructors. I almost came to complete ruin in the midst of the whole congregation. So what's going on here is this wonderful, wonderful passage about adultery. He's telling them that although adultery sounds like it's really good, the adulterous woman's lips drip honey, her seductive words are smoother than oil, but in the end, it's bitter. So again, this is practical results. Notice that. Notice this isn't talking about hell. This is talking about that your life ends up being ruined. And so, and he is so right. He is so right. It looks like such a great thing to a person when they're considering adultery, but in the end, it's destruction. So,
And sir, who can know better than him?
yeah, that's really sad, isn't it? That's really sad. Wow. Can a man hold fire against his chest without burning his clothes? Can a man walk on hot coals without scorching his feet? So it is with the one who has sex with his neighbor's wife. No one who touches her will escape punishment. People who do not despise a thief when he steals to fulfill his need when he is hungry. Yet if he is caught, oh no, that's not a part of it. They shouldn't have added that. Can a man hold fire against his chest without burning his clothes? Can a man walk in hot coals without scorching his feet? So it is with the one who has sex with his neighbor's wife. No one who touches her will escape punishment. He could be talking about eternal punishment, but I don't think so. I think he's talking about punishment in this life. All right, other subject.
Idol worshipping.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's see. I didn't think so. Nope. Nope, nothing. Nothing about idol worshiping. If you did that search in the Torah, you would fill up 5 pages. If you did that search in the prophets, you'd fill up a whole book. But not in the
Sir,
prophets. Yeah.
abortion.
Abortion. Nope. Nothing about abortion. Abortion is harder to find. They did do abortions in the time of the New Testament. I don't know if they did abortions in the time of the Old Testament or not. I don't know. I've never heard of that. They did do abortions in the New Testament, but generally speaking, they didn't abort babies in the Old Testament. They would leave their babies out to die, starve to death. They would just, there was a place outside of the city, and if people had a baby, they didn't want the baby, they would take the baby outside of the city and just let it die. It's the same thing as abortion. They just didn't have the medical ability to be able to abort the way they do now.
Sir, other subject is hardship.
Say it again?
Hardship.
Yeah, hardship. That's possible. Okay, this is the cause of hardship. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to relax, and your poverty will come like a robber, and your need like an armed man. So that's just saying if you're lazy, trouble's coming. The wealth of a rich person is like a fortified city, but the poor are brought to ruin by their poverty. Okay, we already saw that one. This is not about hardship. None of these are about hardship. I have a great one about hardship. I don't think any of these are about hardship. Remove falsehood and lies from me. Do not give me poverty or riches. Feed me with my allotted portion of bread, lest I become satisfied and act deceptively and say, who is the Lord? Or lest I become poor and steal and demean the name of my God. That's not really about hardship, though. But there is an incredible proverb about hardship. There's a wonderful proverb about it. That's like one of my life verses. That's all right. No. It's do not lightly regard the discipline of the Lord, nor grow weary when you reprove by him. Before whom the Lord loves, he disciplines. He scourges every son whom he has received. So that's Proverbs chapter 3, verse 11. So I'm going to switch us over. Do not despise the Lord's instruction, my son. Do not loathe his discipline, for the Lord disciplines the one he loves, just as a father, the son he delights in. So that's about hardship. Yeah, that's the best I can do. Well, in general, Proverbs is really, really important for life. If you read Proverbs every day, you'll be blessed by it. It teaches about the fear of the Lord. That's a good thing. It gives good advice. But remember, it's not the Gospels and it's not the New Testament. It's not even the Torah. It's not even the prophets. It's good practical advice. It's the Word of God, but it's not the law of God. And you can see that just going through the Proverbs we looked at today. Any comments or questions?
Sir, can we also look for necromancy?
No. No. No, that would be, you could find that in the Torah. You could certainly find it in the prophets very easily, but you can't find it in the Proverbs. It just ain't there. Because the Proverbs aren't interested in those things. The Proverbs are interested in living life. They're not interested in idolatry. They're not interested in spirits kind of stuff. That's just not where they are. The Proverbs are interested in the practical day-to-day things of life. That's why it's interested in adultery, because that's dangerous. But it's not interested in idol worship and things like that. Any other
Dreams?
questions? Say it again.
Dreams.
No, same thing. It would never worry about dreams, because the Proverbs don't care about things like that. The Proverbs care about practical life. Yeah, it's a good question. You can find stuff about dreams in the Torah, and you can find stuff about dreams in the prophets, not the New Testament, but you can find stuff about that in the Old Testament, but not in the Proverbs. It's just not interested in those kinds of things.
Okay, sir.
Any questions about the Proverbs in general?
No, sir.
That's because you want to go. I know. And it would be good because I have a meeting at 1, and this way I could eat my lunch before my meeting. That would be nice. So we start Ecclesiastes on Wednesday, and you should be ready for an extremely interesting book, which you're going to learn so much about poor Solomon as you read this book. It's an amazing book, okay? So God bless you all, okay? I'll see you on Wednesday. Have a good day. I will try to get your Old Testament final exam figured out between now and Wednesday by the grace of God. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Have a good day, you too.
Yeah, thank you.
God bless you, sir.
Kobe.